Welcome to Wallace and Wire. Today, we're talking about Ka Siong's rebuttal regarding the crucial Malaysia-U.S. trade pact debate. You know, this whole thing, it really blew up, didn't it? It started with something almost, well, mundane in politics, right? An accusation about someone not being in their seat during a parliamentary briefing.
Yeah, exactly.
And suddenly, bam, it's a huge national conversation. We're talking foreign policy, national sovereignty, even whether the U.S. is pushing Malaysia around.
It's amazing how fast that shift happened. The initial attack felt like classic political maneuvering, try to distract everyone by focusing on where someone was. But Ka Siong, he clearly saw that. He knew he had to sort of neutralize that personal attack first, deal with the was he there or not question.
Right.
Only then could he really pivot the conversation back to what actually matters, the details of this Malaysia-U.S. trade pact. Are our interests really being looked after in the fine print? It was quite a strategic move, turning defense into offense like that.
Okay, so let's quickly cover that first part, the attendance thing, because it sets the stage, even if it's not the main story now. So the claim was, basically, Ka Siong wasn't there when the briefing on the Malaysia-U.S. Mutual Trade Agreement happened.
That's right, and this was on October 29th. A pretty significant briefing, too, given by the Investment, Trade, and Industry Minister, Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul. It kicked off around 11:38 in the morning, just after the parliamentary question time finished up. Clearly, people were watching who was in the room. The topic itself is, well, controversial.
But Ka Siong didn't just say, no, I was there. He went straight for the evidence. Used his Facebook page, right?
He did. Posted pictures.
Yeah, photos showing him sitting right there in the Dewan Rakyat, the main parliamentary hall, listening to the whole thing throughout Zafrul's statement.
And he cleverly used the rules of parliament in his defense, too. He pointed out that the speaker, Tan Sri Johari, had actually told members specifically no interruptions, no interjections during this 30-minute statement. So by saying he listened intently to every word, he wasn't just proving he was present, he was also explaining why he wasn't jumping up to ask questions right at that moment. It kind of shut down that whole line of attack about his attendance completely.
So attendance defended, box ticked. But this is where it gets really interesting. The way he pivoted from defending his presence to attacking the core policy. That was something else.
Incredible pivot, wasn't it? He took that momentum and aimed it squarely at the government over this issue of national sovereignty within the trade deal itself.
And the key was Article 5.1.
Exactly. Article 5.1, which apparently deals with how Malaysia approaches international sanctions. Now, Lee's point was this. During that briefing on the 29th, Minister Zafrul did talk about Article 5.1, but only the version in the Malaysia-U.S. agreement. What he didn't do, according to Wee, was show or even mention the language used in a similar agreement the U.S. has, specifically the U.S.-Cambodia Mutual Trade Agreement.
Ah, so there's a comparison point the government did bring up. How did we even find out about the Cambodia deal's terms?
Well, he said he only discovered the crucial wording in the U.S.-Cambodia Pact's Article 5.1 the next evening. That's October 30th. After the deputy minister, Lu Chintong, had finished up the budget summary for that ministry.
So after the main briefing.
Yes, which means the opposition had to dig this up themselves. It wasn't presented up front as part of the comparison. That timing is pretty significant.
Okay, let's get into that difference then.
Yeah.
Why is the Cambodia agreement suddenly so important? What did their Article 5.1 say that ours apparently doesn't?
This is really the crux of it. Reportedly, the U.S.-Cambodia Article 5.1 contains a clause, a specific line, that acknowledges Cambodia's, well, its right to decide based on its own sovereignty. Whether it follows the U.S. in applying sanctions against other countries. Just think about what that means geopolitically.
Hold on. Why would a clause like that even be needed in a trade pact about sovereignty and sanctions?
Because of secondary sanctions. It's a huge issue. When the U.S. sanctions, say, Iran or Russia, they often put pressure on their trading partners to do the same.
Right, you hear about that. Companies getting caught.
Exactly. If a Malaysian business keeps dealing with a U.S. sanctioned entity, it could face serious consequences, like being cut off from the U.S. financial system. So this clause we found in the Cambodia Pact acts like a legal shield.
A firewall.
Precisely. It formally protects Cambodia's sovereign right to make its own foreign policy calls. It implies the U.S. agrees not to punish Cambodia for, say, maintaining trade ties that the U.S. doesn't like.
Wow, okay. That's a big protection to have written down. Economic independence almost. So if Cambodia got that guarantee, why didn't Malaysia? That was Ka Siong's big question, wasn't it?
That was his challenge. He put out a video statement, quite powerful, directly asking if Cambodia secured this explicit protection for its sovereign decision-making on sanctions, why couldn't Malaysia, a much larger trading partner for the U.S., get the same terms? And he didn't pull any punches. He openly questioned if this difference meant the United States was trying to, well, bully Malaysia into accepting a weaker deal, a deal with less protection for our sovereignty.
That comparison just shifts the whole debate, doesn't it? From who was sitting where in Parliament, whether Malaysia failed in a major foreign policy negotiation, that hits close to home for businesses here.
Absolutely. The moment he brought Cambodia into it, it wasn't about Facebook photos anymore. It was about potentially Malaysia losing some autonomy under international pressure.
Okay, so the policy argument is now firmly on the table. Let's talk about the political fallout, the next phase. Because after establishing that policy ground, Ka Siong turned back to the people who accused him initially.
He did. He didn't let that original accusation just fade away. He used the momentum to criticize those political opponents, the ones who raised the attendance issue. He referred to them broadly as pro-government commentators or supporters of the Democratic Action Party.
And how did he frame that criticism? What was his angle?
He basically accused them of trying to muddy the waters, of making false claims about his absence, using quite strong language, actually, about smearing him. And he posed that rhetorical question. What crime did I actually commit here? Why are we talking about whether I was physically present for 30 minutes when we should be talking about these trade terms that could impact Malaysia for years to come, affecting our economy, our sovereignty?
And then he brought in another politician to make his point, right? To show a kind of double standard.
Yes, Datuk Seri Rafizi, the Member of Parliament for Pandan from PKR. We pointed out that Rafizi also wasn't present during that specific briefing by Tengku Zaful.
Interesting.
But later, Rafizi went to the media and criticized the trade agreement anyway, raising very similar concerns about sovereignty, about whether Malaysia was protected enough.
So why was bringing up Rafizi so effective politically?
Because it highlighted what we framed as hypocrisy. He basically asked, why were these critics going after his attendance so aggressively, but staying completely silent about Rafizi, who was also absent, yet still spoke out on the policy substance afterwards.
He put them on the spot. He challenged them, didn't he? Asked them to clarify what really matters more in national debate.
Exactly. Is it being physically present in the hall to listen quietly? Or is it engaging with and critiquing a major international agreement that affects the country's future, regardless of whether you are in that specific room at that specific hour?
It really taps into that tension you see sometimes.
Yeah.
Between political image, the optics.
And the actual substance, yes. He managed to frame his accusers as focusing on petty politics, like a photo of an empty chair, instead of doing the hard work of scrutinizing these complex agreements that shape our place in the world.
It's a pretty striking example of a politician taking control of the narrative. What began as an attack on his integrity became his springboard to ask a much bigger, maybe more uncomfortable question about Malaysia's strength in negotiations.
And if you think about the core issue here for you listening, it really boils down to that question Ka Siong raised. If a nation like Cambodia could reportedly get explicit protection for its sovereignty on sanctions in its U.S. trade deal, why didn't Malaysia secure the same?
That policy comparison seems to be the real takeaway, isn't it? It goes way beyond who was in Parliament on a particular day.
Absolutely. And it leaves you with something important to consider, perhaps. You know, is this rush we sometimes see from commentators to jump on a politician's attendance? Is it sometimes just a tactic, a way to distract everyone from the much more difficult but maybe more important job of actually reading and understanding these complex international agreements and policies that define our future?
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.